Hello, Rio Blanco County friends. Thanks for tuning in to Extra Extra, our weekly show featuring highlights from the most recent print edition of the Rio Blanco Herald-Times. This week's edition, ninth edition. This is the 9th edition of the 137th volume of the paper, originally founded in 1885 by James Little, still going strong. I'm Lucas Turner, by the way, reporter and tech extraordinaire. If I do this with my hand, then is it extraordinarily better? You bet. Tech extraordinaire and reporter, here to read you the aforementioned highlights so you can be more informed, better prepared, and probably more attractive citizen after having listened. And I know that might sound like a false promise, but hey, that's the magic of news. Probably. Many people are saying this. Allegedly. Speaking of magic or news or both, this week's enchanting paper welcomes in the third week of fall with a reprinted account of the bank robbery attempt that happened in Meeker over 125 years ago. The article, titled Just Retribution, details the saga of 3 highwaymen trying to rob the Bank of Meeker. The trio did not get away with their prize, though, after pioneer citizens of the town came out to greet them, guns drawn. Here's a quote from the article, printed in the Meeker Herald during the week of October 13th, 1896. Activate old-timey filter. On that day, 3 bank robbers and would-be murderers were sent to their final account. The work of the holdups showed evidence of amateurishness in many particulars, but the lightning-like promptness by which they were disposed of showed that the citizens of this town know how to act and shoot. End quote. Find the full account in all its historical glory on the front page. Also, right out front this week, the story of Meeker firefighter Steve Waller, who joined more than 30,000 others in the Tunnel to Tower 5K in New York City, a fundraising event in honor of Stephen Siller, a New York City firefighter who lost his life on 9/11 in the North Tower. That story again on the front page, and by the way, don't miss the banner ad right up top of the newspaper, tippity top, highlighting the times and event information for Meeker's first annual Oktoberfest next Friday and Saturday. I'm assuming it's going to be annual. Maybe that's a hope. It's the first Oktoberfest next Friday and Saturday. Can you tell how excited I am? The point is, Oktoberfest, the 15th, 16th of October. It's going to be great. I sat down with head brewer Tyler Fry this week to talk about the upcoming event. Here is a clip from our conversation.
And so then our plan for the 16th is to just have a big party at the brewery, have some German-themed games. We're going to be doing like a Stein hold. So we're going to fill a Stein for you, and you have to hold it straight out. And, we'll get a bunch of volunteers, and then last man standing wins, We're going to do...
You get something for that, for winning?
I think we're going to do like a T-shirt, Okay. We might do a Stein giveaway. We've got some really large Steins.
You get the glory of winning. Obviously.
Yeah, you get and winning is its own dessert in its own right, but prizes are cool too.
Now, the front page is important. I mean, who doesn't like the front page? Am I right? News readers, front page, something special about it. Well, that's not all. Elections. Our favorite thing. For the Meeker and Rangeley School Boards of Education are coming up, and there's no shortage of candidates to vote for this year. Housing shortage, worker shortage, school board candidate shortage, nowhere to be found. So, at least we have that. With 3 seats open in Meeker, more than 12 people have thrown in their hats to run for the board, including 2 incumbents. In Rangeley, 9 people are running for at least 2 open seats, including 1 incumbent. That's why a solid 4 pages of this week's paper are dedicated to school board candidate Q&As. You can read the candidates' answers starting on page 6. And yeah, again, with answers from 17 of 19 total candidates, it might take you a while. So buckle up or buckle down, whichever direction makes most sense to you, you do that. Yeah. World Mental Health Day is October 10th this year, and with that, HT editor Nikki Turner reminds us not to neglect our own mental health, easy as that may be. To be fair, we're probably all a little bit crazy, especially after the last year and a half. But hey, where was I going with this? Oh, right, we're all crazy, right? Important to remember next time you feel like judging your fellow citizens for their seemingly insane behavior. But for reals, though, awareness of things like anxiety, depression, and tools for coping with trauma can go a long way. So don't be afraid to take care of yourself, even if it means, I don't know, going for a brisk walk or reaching out to an old friend or writing the names of everyone who hurt you on a piece of paper and lighting it on fire in the backyard. Not that I've ever done that. Wait, that last one might not be healthy. But who am I to say? I'm definitely not a psychologist. Psychopath, maybe. Debatable. Either way, you shouldn't take advice from me. Instead, don't feel bad seeking help from a real mental health expert. You can even do it online. For the agoraphobes in the audience, I'm talking to you, Brandon. Or maybe Brandon was the voice in my head talking to me. What I do know is that that's enough of this tirade. If you want to hear this said in a slightly less concerning, I should call help tone, check out page 4. One page over, that's 5. I might be mentally off, but I can still count. Has this week's letters to the editor and a breakdown of the Local Journalism Sustainability Act, which before I talk about the Local Journalism Stutter Act, Local Stutter Act, before I talk about the Local Journalism Sustainability Act, we seem to have had a printer malfunction this week, and specifically on the letters to the editor page. So if you got a paper that like that page 5 and 6 were black on one side or something, printer malfunction, free to bring your paper into the office here on Main Street, and we will replace your paper free of charge. Generous of us, I know. The Local Journalism Sustainability Act, again, that's on page 5. The legislation currently proposed as one part of the federal budget reconciliation bill would offer tax credits for local newspapers, that's us, to hire more local journalists. There's also tax credits for business owners to pay up to $5,000 in local advertising each year and up to $250 each year for individuals to subscribe to local news outlets. Now, obviously, this sounds great to us, given our weekly scramble to cover every event, opening, and government board meeting, and the weight of keeping a 137-year-old institution operational. But hey, we encourage you to look into the idea for yourself and decide what you think. After all, that's what we do, share information. And you decide your own opinions, even if that means critiquing your local news outlets. And oh, by the way, not reading an article or refusing to actually read the contents of an article and then posting hashtag journalism is dead in the Facebook comment section doesn't actually qualify as a critique. It might be some kind of coping mechanism, getting back to the mental health discussion, but a critique, it is not. For more details on the Journalism Sustainability Act, check out this week's guest column on page 5. 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right. Making sure that my brain's still working. Sports is in full swing along with the school semester. Currently, Meeker High School volleyball is undefeated and could be poised to win the Western Slope League Championship this year. Meeker softball, meanwhile, is heading to regionals, and Cowboys football celebrates a resounding victory over the Grand Valley Cardinals with a final score of 33 to the Cardinals 7. In Rangeley, Panthers football are also coming off a strong win of 38-0 against West Grand. Lady Panthers volleyball have also been racking up wins, securing 2 victories last week as they prepare for homecoming matches against Sirocco and Manila. Manila. More in Rio Blanco County sports this week on pages 10 and 11, and even more local sports content for all you local sports addicts. Check out the podcast Coffee with Coaches, recording weekly in the HT production studio. Here's a clip from this week's episode featuring Dr. Justin Grant, Meeker High School students Aspen Merrifield and Savannah Mendenhall, and athletic trainer Lindsay Short.
So softball had a really big weekend. In 3 days, they played 6 games and they won 3 of them. What it doesn't show is that they're sitting 9-10 on the season, but they're 9-1 in the league, meaning that they still have a chance to take the league depending on how Cortez does over the weekend. Volleyball remained undefeated, 11-0. They went 3-0 for both West Grand and Plateau Valley. Craven said that this week they worked on serve and serve receive, and that Emma and Sarah picked it up, and they are now serving and passing 2.0, which I had to ask what that meant because I had no idea. And apparently a pass, and they rank them. A number 1 means it has 1 set option, 2 has 2 set options, and then 3. So basically, the better the pass, the higher the number. I think it goes up to 3. Right, girls? Yeah. Okay.
That will be a question in the next segment.
Yeah.
That's basically it, folks. All that's left is a bit more history curated from our 137 plus years of newspaper archives in the weekly Days Gone By section on page 9. Here's a bit of wisdom from that past. 125 years ago, the Meeker Herald published, quote, "People who act without thinking generally think when others begin to act." End quote. That's all for this week's News Highlights podcast show thingy. News stuff. Thanks a bunch for tuning in and supporting 13 going on 14 decades of community journalism. Over and out.